right, it's 9 o'clock on this Monday night, Super Bowl Monday night. This is the Live Zone Primetime. I'm producer Chris. That is Tony P.
Hello.
Kind of feeling a little. It was a rough Sunday night.
I didn't sleep last night. I didn't really drink.
Patriots fans, in case you didn't.
Yes. Here's my colors, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, my colors, my blue and my red. I'm still wearing them with pride. I didn't sleep at all last night because I was just totally depressed today as well. But I have to say for the audience, I have a very loyal co-host because he sent me a picture on Sunday morning with a picture of him, the Philadelphia fan, wearing a Patriots jersey, the old Patriot, the Patriot logo as well. So my friend, thank you for showing solidarity with me in the loss.
In case anyone is wondering, every stadium I've ever been to, I buy a T-shirt of
Oh, no
that
way.
team.
Okay.
I went to a game at Foxborough one time. It was a preseason Eagles Patriots game, so I bought a Patriot hat, whatever his name is. Classic old school throwback T-shirt.
Now, my next question for you has to be, how many stadiums have you been to?
Not many.
Not many?
All. Yeah, no.
Like
not
one
many
hand
at
or
all.
two hands? Or?
Yeah, probably two hands, but that includes
good.
baseball stadiums as well.
Okay, got it. So you don't distinguish that.
If I go to a professional sporting event, I buy a T-shirt of the team whose home stadium I have been to. We are going to talk so much about the Super Bowl. We're going to talk about the top trending searches. We're going to talk about the halftime show. We have so much to talk about, but first we do have some serious news we want to get to. This was the big story all across the DMV today. We are talking about a developing story we've been following all afternoon. A student shot by another student at Wootton High School in Rockville. It happened around 2:15, shortly before school was dismissed for the day. The victim was rushed to the hospital. At last check, they are in stable condition. The suspect is in custody, and police say there is no threat to the public. The school was locked down for hours. Remember, this happened at 2:15, just about 40 minutes ago, 6 hours after the reports of gunfire. We finally heard from police and school officials, including Superintendent Thomas Taylor. I want to play a bit of the Q&A for you now.
Well, we were communicating with our parents through our protocol, which is to send regular updates as to what's been happening, and we have done that. Learning from mistakes of the past, we wanted to prioritize our student safety and make sure that reunification was the priority, and so that we have done. This is an ongoing investigation, so there are limitations to what we can share, and we're here today to share that information right now.
The Rockville City Police Department has a community engagement officer assigned to Wootton High School. During the time of the shooting, that officer was attending to an issue at Lakewood Elementary School. Was on duty, was not at the school at the time of the shooting, but due to our quick response, we had responding officers on the scene within minutes. It is the priority of our police department in the city of Rockville that we provide public safety to all of our schools in our community. I stand behind my original statements months ago when we put our officer at Wootton High School. I think a collaborative partnership between law enforcement and our school community keeps our children safe, and we're going to continue to do that in the future.
Another question for Dr. Taylor. Is the school going to be open tomorrow? And I know that you're a dad. What do you say to parents who kind of waited today? They were getting the text messages. The text messages had conflicting information. What do you say to those parents who waited so many hours to figure out what was going on?
Well, first and foremost, we're glad that our children are safe and that they're back home with their families. That's the most important thing for today. We are going to be open tomorrow because we know it's important to be connected to resources, and we know that we have mental health supports that can assist our students and our families. So our families will be hearing from us later tonight, immediately after this press event, where they can get more information about tomorrow's schedule, tomorrow's resources, and of course we'll be also having a meeting with our faculty and staff tomorrow morning as well.
All right, so both the suspect and victim are 16 years old. The investigation's still ongoing. No word on a motive at this time, but authorities say that the suspect will be charged as an adult. Wootton High School, as you just heard at the end there, will be open tomorrow, but with mental health resources available for students and their families. So, for more on today's violence, the response, and what comes next, we're joined by Wootton Parent Teacher Student Association President Brian Rabin, also Dr. Daniel Bober, who is a psychiatrist. We'll check in with Doctor in just a second. First, though, Brian, we do want to start with you. You have a daughter at Wootton High School. Can you talk to us just a little bit about how this played out from your point of view, when you heard the news, when you were able to get in touch with your daughter?
Yeah, so first I do want to thank our first responders and our quick thinking teachers and administrators at Wootton to keep our kids safe. I first heard about it. My wife was actually in the carpool lane there to pick up my daughter, and police started coming from all directions, and she called me very scared about what was happening, and then the news started coming through, messages on my phone and so forth. I tried immediately to contact my daughter, was not able to reach her, so that just created more, fear. But I was hearing from other people who were at Wootton, so I got a little bit of information about what was going on there, that there was an active shooter. Of course, there was a lot of misinformation coming through, a lot of people were not really sure what all the details were. It took a bit of time before my daughter was able to respond, and we knew that she was safe.
Let me ask you this again. So sorry you and the whole community had to go through this today. What has been some of the sentiments you're hearing from other parents in response to today's horrific situation and what they're looking for in the days ahead?
Well, first of all, parents are really concerned about the safety of their children and in school. Too much of the time we hear these stories across the country, and they're scary, but you do become desensitized because they happen so often. And when it affects your school and your children, it becomes real. And we really want to know what is going to be done to make sure that our schools are secure. Students bringing guns to school, it's a very scary thought that any student could put a weapon in their backpack and bring it into the building, and they actually think that that's okay to do. That is very scary. So we want to know how the school system will be able to keep our kids safe, and also we had a chance to see what happens in an emergency where there's an active shooter and how we need to evacuate the building in a safe way and reunify parents with their children. And people have been waiting hours. People are still there. It doesn't seem like it went as smoothly as it could go.
Yeah, Brian,
I know that this is.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, but that actually leads me right into my next question, which is how would you grade the response from the school and from the school superintendent overall, not just the police, because as you I'm not sure if you could hear the question in the beginning of that press conference, but the first thing that the superintendent was responding to is the fact that no one from the police or the school was in front of the cameras talking to the media and the public, not just the media, for more than 6 hours.
Yeah, and I did hear that in the clip. Yeah, parents and myself, we were trying to get as much information as we could. There were some messages that were coming through, but there was a lot of information that we didn't know. And so, of course, parents are rushing to the school, trying to figure out what's going on, trying to get to their kids, and really not having enough information to know, is there one shooter? Is there multiple shooters? Are there victims? You go right to thinking that there's going to be a mass, that it's a mass shooting. So that's what we all think about these days, unfortunately. And so everybody was terrified. So I do agree that we need better information. The communication has to come out quicker, even if it's not exact, just so we can get a little bit of information. So, even when you tell parents not to come to the school, of course they're coming to the school. They're really worried about their children.
When Talking about some of the reforms that you mentioned in my previous question, what are some of the things preventatively and proactively that you and other parents want to see on the ground to make sure that these situations can be prevented and just mitigated in a better way per se?
Well, I think that in terms of prevention, having a police officer at school is really good. I'm a former guidance counselor at Wootton High School. We had an SRO who counselors worked very closely with. It was a great relationship. The SRO knew the students very well and usually was able to get intel and able to support students, and it was very helpful. I saw in the press conference that our police officer who monitors our campus was off site at the time of the incident. So those having a police officer on site is helpful. We appreciate the city of Rockville for providing the support of the Rockville Police Department. But we do need to make sure that our schools are safe and secure, that there's a way to prevent weapons from coming into schools.
Brian, full disclosure for our viewers, you and I were actually scheduled to chat tomorrow because there is supposed to be a county council meeting focused on Wootton and the plan by the superintendent to move to Crown. Is that meeting still a go, and do you expect that what happened today will come up at that council meeting tomorrow?
So I believe the council meeting tomorrow, the CIP hearing is still a go. I haven't heard otherwise, and I do expect that this will come up at the council hearing tomorrow.
Do you anticipate it will have any impact on any of the plans?
I'm not sure. I think Wootton, I think everybody's really just concerned for the safety of our students, our teachers, and preventing any kind of incident like this at school.
As someone who has been in this space, being a guidance counselor, dealing with students, what are some of the mental health resources you want to see the district implement starting tomorrow and beyond to help the student body through this incredible crisis?
Well, from my experience as a guidance counselor in the past, a crisis team would come in to provide those supports. The students need them. I can tell you in talking to my daughter and her friends, they're going to need those supports. I'm not sure that having school the next day is the best way to go. The students are traumatized, as you can imagine, and many of them are just getting home now. My daughter just came home about an hour ago. I mean, it's been a long day, and I think they need a break. So I just can't imagine them actually going back. But I'm sure the crisis team will be there to support our students, and they're going to need that. For a little bit of time, it's going to be scary to go back into the building. And we have students that have witnessed what occurred, and those students in particular have been quite traumatized.
Yeah. Well, Brian, we appreciate you spending some time with us here on the Live Zone. We will check back in with you tomorrow as well for an update. And we are sending our thoughts, obviously, to not only you and your family, but the community as a whole. Now, you did just bring up those mental health resources, Tony P. So we do want to turn now to Dr. Daniel Bober. Daniel Bober joins us now live from Florida. You have worked with students who have been through things like this in the past. You heard Brian just mention whether or not having school the next day was a wise decision. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yes, I have worked with students, faculty, and officers that were in the Parkland massacre. And I probably would have given them a little bit of a break. I probably would not have gone back to school the next day. But what we're dealing with here is one of the most common scenarios, which is a school gun scenario. A gun gets on campus, a conflict or impulse turns catastrophic. And it's very easy to politicize these types of issues, but I like to take a public health approach, right? We have cars that have seatbelts, we have speed limits, we have airbags. And so what we really need here is a layered approach. And the problem may show up in school, but the problem starts at home. And we need to secure these firearms. And up to half of people are not securing their weapons. Maryland has a law that bars leaving a loaded gun where a minor can access it. So that's an important point. If there's a teen in crisis, we need to be removing the weapon from the home until the crisis resolves. Anonymous tips, it goes back to what we always say. If you see something, say something. And behavioral threat assessment and management teams to look at things like leakage, acquisition of weapons, things like that. And finally, extreme risk protection orders, not having firearms in the hands of people who shouldn't have them. So these are all things that we can do. They're very common sense, and you can support the Second Amendment, but you can also still support public health as well.
Doctor, one of the things we hear, of course, is the mental health versus the gun debate back and forth across the political aisle. And sometimes with the mental health approach, there isn't a lot of specifics. In terms of your experience, what does the mental health approach mean for preventative measures, not just with guns, but how do we start to work on the mental health that leads up to horrific situations like this?
So I can tell you that people with mental illness are more likely to be the victims of violence and not the perpetrators. They're only responsible for a very small proportion of violence. But what we're looking at is people that are in crisis, and that is where we can see an escalation of violence very rapidly for people in crisis. So we need to identify people at risk, we need to intervene early, and we need to keep an open line of communication so those people can get help. And law enforcement may need to become involved, unfortunately, at some stage.
Right.
So what help can you offer to any parents out there watching right now in terms of facilitating conversation about not only what their students may have gone through today, but also what they need to feel safe moving forward?
Well, I think you need to reassure your kids. Obviously, you want to do this in a developmentally appropriate fashion. You want to keep an open line of communication. You want to talk to your kids without judgment, without shame. You want to make sure they can come to you with anything. You need to be listening more than you're talking. And you may need to professionally refer them for help. And very often that starts with their primary care physician, who can refer them to a mental health professional. But I think the most important thing is to be present and to really listen to what they're saying.
When we think about days like this and how for the students that are impacted by it and they're being moved to different schools, reunification, what can that do to a student in that moment and beyond as they process this horrible moment?
Well, listen, people process things at different speeds, and you want to look for changes in the behavior. The older the kid, the more they're going to verbalize their feelings. But any changes in sleep, in hygiene, in the crowd they're hanging out with, any use of substances, talking about death, all that stuff should be a red flag and should warrant further intervention.
And do you think at this moment that schools across the board are equipped and facilitated enough to really help in these situations, or are they still kind of playing catch up?
Well, listen, we can always use more help. I think obviously having our first responders there, being an SRO or a school resource officer used to be the place where officers would retire, and now it's become one of the most important positions in law enforcement because of these shooting incidents. So I think we need to, have our hats off to them and salute them for the work that they do.
Absolutely.
All right, Dr. Daniel Bober, thank you so much for spending some time with us here tonight on the Live Zone Prime Time, lending your expertise. Unfortunately, the circumstances that we have to meet, but thank you so much for spending some time with us.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to take you out to Frederick, Maryland, take a live look from our Fox 5 Skycam. Another cold today today,
yes,
but
sir.
hopefully
Thank you
things
so much.
warming up in the future. We'll hear from Mike Thomas coming up at the top of the 10 right here on Fox Local. In the meantime, we're going to switch gears. When we come back, we are going to talk about that Super Bowl, that big game. We're going to talk about some of the top trending moments from it when one of Google's experts joins us live. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hi, how are y'all doing? Okay, sounds good.
other actors.
Hey, Will! Did you arrange the Munchkins in the Fibonacci sequence? I got a genius working for me!
He's such a genius, then why'd he put ice in his coffee, huh?
Come on, Chucky, I'm just Will Hunting. I'm not a genius.
I will marry the first man that can help me with the Fibonacci sequence.
How you doing? Don't you have a girlfriend? We're on a break! I don't need her. I still get everything I need right here at Dunkin'.
Hey, kid, if you're still single, doing this Boston shtick and working for Dunkin' when you're 50, I'm gonna be very disappointed.
Isn't that your girlfriend?
You like donuts?
Yeah.
Well, this is my new boyfriend. How you like these nuts?
On time.
Classic. Good Will
That
Duncan.
was good.
That was Ben Affleck's latest Duncan Super Bowl ad featuring some classic 90s sitcom sidekicks. Not sure if Tony P recognizes
Yes,
all of them.
I do.
He might be a little too young. It was also the second highest trending Google search when it came to commercials. So, what else were people looking up during the big game? Here to break it down is Google search and trends expert Christina Basillo. Christina, thanks so much for spending some time with us here on the Live Zone Primetime.
Yeah, so glad to be here and just to look at all the conversations that were happening last night, including that ad.
Oh, yeah.
Including that ad. So talk to us a little bit about some of the general trends you saw when it came to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, so every year the Super Bowl is this huge national event, and you see people coming to Google for all types of things. So it is no surprise that the players are really top of mind for people. This year we saw Drake May be one of our top search players, as well as Stephon Diggs. I'm assuming that's because he wasn't getting the ball enough for some fans. But then you saw Sam Darnold was a huge breakout, as well as Kenneth Walker III, who ended up being our MVP this year.
Now, when folks are online, they're searching all these things up. What are the high traffic times that are happening with this? And what does that tell you about how fans are really integrating their phones and computers into a watching experience like that?
Yeah, so it's really interesting with the Super Bowl because we look at the trends across the entire day, and then we also look at things that when they spike.
Right.
So we'll probably talk about it a little bit later, but we saw a huge spike for Bad Bunny during his halftime performance. He was an all-time high searching at that time.
Wow.
And then when things are happening in real time, you'll see those spikes of either those people or those questions that we're all just trying to figure out collectively.
So speaking of Bad Bunny, what were the top trending questions about him and the halftime show?
Okay, so some of the top trending questions we saw from Bad Bunny is where was he born, which the answer is Puerto Rico. The second was who's performing, who are his special guests, and we saw that was Lady Gaga and Ricky Martin. And then one of my favorite things, because I also did this, I said it out loud, I was like, wait, is that Cardi B? Everyone wanted to know who was on stage with him. So Jessica Alba was there, Pedro Pascal, and Cardi B. All of their names were popping up for was blank at the Super Bowl.
Now, let me ask you this. So with the ads case, with the Goodwill Duncans and things like that, what kind of questions or sentiment is being expressed by people during the ad watch time, for example?
Oh my gosh, we had so many ads. You have hundreds of brands always bringing forward all their ads, and people are just interested to try to figure out what's going on, how they can watch them again. And we actually track what are the top trending commercials searched during the game. And so the Mr. Beast Salesforce ad, I think we all know why that one was the top one.
Yeah, $1 million. That makes it easier.
Yeah, so it was really interesting. But then you got to see some really, I think, ones that always drive home. So anything like a tearjerker, so that Lay's Super Bowl potato commercial where he gave the keys to his daughter. And we also saw that Budweiser commercial really spike for interest with the horse and the eagle. That one just got a lot of buzz for folks when they were watching.
So what is this, looking at these searches as a whole, not just specific things, what does this really tell us about the way people are watching these live events now? Obviously, they're doing it with two screens because not only are they watching their TV, but they also have their phone handy as well.
Yeah, so I think when we are looking at these search trends, there's two categories I really see this information being broken up to. First is they want historical context. We see people looking at things like, has there ever been a shutout? So they're trying to figure out what's the past? How do we know what's really happening in this space? And then the second space that we're seeing is they're trying to validate what they're experiencing in real time. I think the questions around Bad Bunny and who was on stage are prime examples of that, because we see it, but we want to make sure what we're seeing is real. And then I think when we're trying to fight with our friends over the last nacho, we want to be able to say, no, that Super Bowl coach isn't the youngest one. Like, he's older, and we want to be able to prove that we're right. And I think we see that a lot in the trend.
Interesting. It's kind of like a back and forth almost.
Yeah, literally just it described me, which is like secret pocket searching over here, and then acting like
exactly
I knew it
like you know it. Now, based on your experience and looking at the Super Bowl as an advertising hub, for example, where all these moments come together, do ads during the Super Bowl or events like this actually work in drawing people towards brands or causes or things like that? Or is it more just about awareness generally?
I mean, I think we have to think about the fact that they have us talking about them right now, right? So it's about creating this cultural moment. It's about creating a connection. I think about all the commercials that featured a lot of millennial icons, kind of like that Dunkin' commercial, and there's a lot of Backstreet Boys and nostalgia going on. I think it's about creating an environment where people want to revisit things and make sure that we're touching to where the cultural psyche is.
Now, speaking of that nostalgia piece, I've been fascinated about this for like 2 years as an old soul myself, okay? Where are we seeing the nostalgia searches and desire come from? Is it from the generations that actually lived it? Or are you seeing a lot of Gen Z folks and younger who are aspiring to that, searching these type of things up and wanting to know more about different eras, for example?
Okay, so that's such a fun question. So whenever we're looking at these searches, we do get to look at a lot of the data. And it's anonymous and it's aggregated, and we have to pull that information to see what's going on. What I think when folks are looking at things like slang, what we've noticed is that usually the group that's using the slang will be searching for that in like context. Whereas when people aren't a part of that generation or trying to learn something about it, you see questions that are more qualifying, like, so what does X mean? Or what does this acronym mean?
Yeah.
And we actually saw that really interesting when it came to the Super Bowl, that the WAG acronym, which is Wives and Girlfriends of Athletes, people were Googling, what does WAG mean?
Right.
So I think when you see it in that context, you're like, oh, maybe that's not the generation that's using it or the group that usually uses it. But when you use it in conjunction with something that's related to that topic, that's probably because you use it in everyday life.
All right. Well, if people want to see more of these trending topics, these trending questions, where can they go to do that, Christina?
Yes, so I got 2 places to point you. First, if you just want to get into all things trends, head over to trends.google.com. We look at things from the Olympics to the Super Bowl to Mother's Day, and you can see what people are talking about. But if you're interested in some of these commercials we were talking about, you can actually head over to YouTube. We have a whole entire adlet section, and it has all the ads that happen, the ones you saw during the games and the ones you may have missed.
Wow, that's really, really cool. I mean, again, the nostalgia thing I could talk about forever, because I think we're hitting on that cultural zeitgeist where I think the younger generations want to see that. Just a kind of final follow-up. Do you think this nostalgic era is going to stay with, beyond the Super Bowl? Do you think it's going to be another trend that kind of dies out?
Oh, I 100% think it's going to stay. We've already seen trends of the 2016 versus 2026 coming into play.
Different iterations.
I think there's a lot of interest in it, and it's not going away anytime soon.
Love it.
All right, Google search and trends expert Christina Basillo, thanks for spending some time with us here tonight and
That was
breaking it all
great.
down.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So Tony, I mean, I don't.
I was looking for that answer.
I don't know if you are a huge Backstreet Boys fan, but it did crack me up how prominent they were. I mean, we're talking a band that I went and saw in 1998 when I was in like 8th grade.
I was born in 98.
One of my first concerts that I went to without my parents. A, B. They changed the lyrics in that one commercial, which was "Am I secure" or whatever instead of "Am I sexual?"
Great.
And like my wife and I are sitting on the couch singing along, and they got to that part, and we were like, "What the hell?" So obviously, it worked to their advantage.
Oh,
but
totally.
the other T-Mobile one, where at the end it's the little girl and it's MGK, and he's like, and she's like, "Where are the Backstreet Boys?" And he's like,
"That was funny."
That cracked me up. I love.
Oh, that was great. Well, again, because it's it really hits something that it's authentic for the era. People are really liking the nostalgia. It isn't just a trend. They're trying to figure out.
Plus, they're obviously dominating out in Las Vegas.
Exactly,
so
and they're nostalgic things that are not dead. It's like you said, right? And the good thing is, a lot of these ads, as someone who's kind of I'm not an advertising expert, but I do advertising work. Okay, these ads, whether it be the Uber one with Matthew McConaughey, the Goodwill Duncan one, as well as I think the one with the Budweiser with Rocket Mortgage, they create memeable moments, and they also create story. And I think when we're looking at the future of advertising, a lot of it has to look backwards, because I saw a lot of sentiment against the Mr. Beast Salesforce competition. It seemed kind of tacky, right? For example, the one with the Rocket Mortgage about needing a neighbor, the Mr. Rogers theme to it, taking care of your neighbors and really being kind. That resonated well with a lot of people. The Budweiser ad with the bird and the horse, that was really nice.
I think won.
Yeah, the Lay's one was great, because it was a story. It kind of kept you in. The 80s and 90s were known for this, where you had life vignettes in an ad, a little mini story that people could get invested in. The last 20 years, you haven't seen a lot of that. It's been a lot of just more, who's the biggest celebrity I can throw up for something. I think with the influencer culture, you can't just rely on influencers anymore. They have to be part of a story that's really authentic and touches on those life moments. And they did that with a lot of these ads.
There you go. Let us know your favorites. You can just scan the QR code that we put up right now. You can let us know your favorite ads, or after the commercial break, you can let us know what you thought of Bad Bunny's halftime
comments
show,
or
that
online
is what we are talking about next, because author and content creator and Bad Bunny fan Mike Alfaro is going to join us one more time. We'll also check in with Melissa, who we know wants to talk more about that Bad Bunny halftime show. She just got to give us a little taste of her thoughts on Do You Like It or Not earlier. We'll check in with them coming up on the other side of the break. In the meantime, we'll leave you with this live picture of the White House. We'll be right back.
Hey, Melissa, how are you? Yes, can hear you. Qué rico. Yo estaba comiendo empanadas durante el Super Bowl, durante halftime.
I literally just made them.
Nice.
I was hungry. I was like, I can't do this.
I'm eating like leftover pigs in a blanket. That's what I'm at.
Oh my gosh. I barely ate. I was so into this game. I just wanted to see what the heck was going on.
Were you rooting for anybody specific or just Bad Bunny?
Yeah, well, I'm a New York Giants fan, but I knew Seahawks was going to win this game.
Yeah.
So that was just a little taste of that halftime show, the Bad Bunny halftime show. We're still waiting for the final viewership numbers, Tony P, from last night's Super Bowl and halftime show. But early reports say the Bad Bunny concert with a side of football could have been one of the most watched ever. Fans of the artist flooded social media, breaking down the symbolism of his historic set and sharing some of their favorite moments. At the same time, some of the critics had their say too. So for more on the halftime show, the message and the response, we want to turn to our new friend, author, content creator, and Bad Bunny fan, Mike Alfaro. We also have Melissa, who is a Bad Bunny fan, in the Zoom room as well. Melissa, we'll check in with you in just a second. First, Mike, welcome back. Thanks so much for spending some time with us, and thanks for coming back.
No, amazing. Thank you for having me.
So when we talked last time, we started off by talking about on your Instagram, you've been having a countdown for more than 100 days of teaching people Spanish. Then Bad Bunny comes out and he says, you don't have to learn Spanish, you just have to know how to dance. So did you teach people how to dance as well, just out of curiosity?
Yeah, day 125, I did a little bit of a dance move there to get people to start dancing to it. I was like, I gotta add it to the list of things they gotta learn. But I think it was one of those things where it was an accessible show. I think with the inclusion of Lady Gaga in there singing in English, it was like you got a little bit of everything in the show as well. But it was really fun.
Excuse me, don't you mean Lady Gaga? What is it, Lady Gaga?
Lady Gaga Lupe. That's what we call it. Lady Gaga Lupe. Yeah.
Really? Now let me ask you this. So one of the things that I noticed as a viewer is that I really learned a lot about Puerto Rican culture through the stage setup, through the music, and just the interaction, with the fans and all of that. What do you think was the biggest thing that people could learn from this incredible set last night and performance that could help them understand, the culture more going forward, beyond language?
I think for me it was the people. A lot of people focus on the props that were there, the mercadito, the taco stand, everything, but it was really the people. When you saw there was a wedding there, and that moment where you saw the little boy that was sleeping on the 3 chairs, that is a thing that a lot of Latinos, whether you're Puerto Rican or you're not, have had, where you're a little kid and you're taking to these, Latino family parties that last all night, and your parents are taking you home, so you just like fall asleep on the chairs. That is something that connected with so many people. And it's those little moments. I think it's not just about, like you're showing there the boxers and the dancers and the caña, which is the sugar cane. All that stuff is great for understanding part of the culture, but it really was about all the people that were surrounding these props.
Mike, what grade would you give the show overall? And when it comes to halftime shows, the all-time greatest ones, where does this one rank for you?
Oh, this one's up there. I mean, I love this one. To me, this one's the best one ever because it was the one that I got to see with my daughter, that she was dancing. I also love the Shakira one as well, and Kendrick. So recently, those are the ones that I've really connected with the most because they're showing culture, which is of the moment, and they really have something to say about what's going on in culture right now, and that's art. That's part of the halftime show. It's art as well. There's artistry and storytelling and a reflection of what is going on in society today.
With a phenomenon and like a huge event like this, what do you think this can mean for after effects, for more people learning about culture or engaging with it? Like, do you think that an event like this can have real staying power?
Yes, of course. I mean, you see right now the numbers that Bad Bunny is doing on the charts, where a lot of his songs are like blowing up on the charts right now. There is such a huge interest in Spanish education at the same time. I'm seeing it with my own content. We had about 25 million people that we helped out with the Spanish lessons. So these videos that I was doing attracted a lot of attention. There are people that were really interested in learning Spanish, and they're all telling me, like, you got to continue your Spanish education journey, which I will do on social media. Yeah. But I think there is staying power to it, and also to it showcases how beautiful Latino culture can be, and it's part of American culture as well.
Absolutely is.
Well, thank you for saying that, because that led me right into my next question, which is, towards the end there, he really made a point of mentioning that this wasn't just a celebration of Puerto Rican heritage, it was American heritage, and not just United States of America heritage, from South America up through North America and Canada too. Do you think that message resonated with people, and do you think he was able to reach really people who may not have gone into the Super Bowl with open minds, ears, and hearts?
You know, it's hard to say if it actually like changed minds of people, but I know that there's a lot of people out there who really connected at that end. I will say he did forget Belize. Belize was one of the countries that he did not mention,
Right, yeah.
which is like one of the neighbors of Guatemala. I don't know why that happened. He might have gone right, but I know some people online were like waiting for Belize and then he didn't say, and they were like, what? So it definitely like everybody who was mentioned was really, really excited about it. So I know that that moment really connected, and I'm sure he'll say something about Belize at some point. But no, I mean, I think it was hard for me to see what was going on screen and not be touched. I mean, I was crying, I was laughing, I was having a ball. And if you don't have those emotions, then like, why are you even watching this game? Why are you even watching the halftime show? Because those are a show that makes you feel something.
Do you think that people, when it comes to like learning the language and learning culture, do you think people can use music as an effective way to understand the language? Because for me, I mean, I'm thinking about Duolingo, I'm thinking about a program, Rosetta Stone, or individual teaching. To learn more history and things of that nature, can music be an effective part of this? Or is it kind of just, is that more for entertainment, then you have to do more of the language kind of like conjugations, things of that nature?
Well, I think for me, specifically, one of the biggest things about learning a second language is immersing yourself in the culture. And if you're here in the United States and you're not around a lot of Spanish speakers, immersing yourself in music, Spanish music, and now there's so many times where you can like be hearing it and seeing, you know, like you have apps that actually play, you know, the translated lyrics that you can like look and read along with. Also, when you're watching your favorite TV shows, nowadays it's super easy to just hit that button and turn it into like Spanish, or get like have it in Spanish and then turn it into the subtitles in English, so you can start to learn in that way and just immerse yourself, hearing how people pronounce words, how they say things, rather than just reading it. That's actually really important as well, a part of learning. So I absolutely tell people like immerse yourself in music, movies, TV shows, things that are, you know, in Spanish. That is a great help to further on your education in a way that's fun, that's entertaining as well. It's not just about learning from a book.
Mike, let me ask you this. If someone went in and this was an introduction to Bad Bunny, maybe they didn't know a lot of his songs, maybe they're not so familiar with his work, give us some recommendations, some of your favorites that will get them started. And I will also just add to this, in addition to his music, he is such a charismatic actor as well. Because if you haven't seen Happy Gilmore,
I knew you were going to go there with this.
I said this since the first time I saw it, and I hadn't, I hadn't been overly familiar with him as an actor beyond SNL, but he absolutely stole the movie.
Yeah, he is hilarious. There are many songs I think that you can, and you can see how funny he is too in his in the music and his music videos as well. But for me, Debí Tirar Más Fotos, DTMF, is like you have to know that song. That's such an amazing song. It has really sad, emotional lyrics, but it is a bop. So it's one of those songs where like you're dancing and you're really not. Sometimes you don't know what you're dancing to if you don't know Spanish, but it is a very emotional song. You also have to learn Baile Inolvidable, the unforgettable dance. That is like an amazing song. Titi Me Preguntó, a great song as well. And it was funny because I was looking at the set list of all the songs that he did in the Super Bowl halftime, and all of them were ones that I was able to do on my social media and help people translate, except for one. There was one that I missed, El Apagón, which is about the state of Puerto Rico when the power grid in Puerto Rico. That was one that I didn't get a chance to translate, but all the other ones I did. So if you want to check out what those songs meant in the Super Bowl, go over to my Instagram and you can see a little breakdown of what the songs are about.
Yeah, and mentioning the power grid, that was obviously one of those thematic elements that we saw too with people on the power
Right,
lines.
well, because it's an important part, because again, people are not paying attention to that, sadly, in the States or around the world. And let me ask you this. So when looking at, you know, Bad Bunny's career, you know, from 2016 on, he was working so hard, his life story to get to this moment. What is it about his musical craft, his lyrics, his melodies that have made him the superstar that he is in the music space?
I think it's, I mean, it makes you want to dance. I gotta tell you, it all starts with the beat, Bad Bunny beat. It makes you want to dance, it makes you want to move. And he has a way of, you know, sometimes have songs that are really just about getting down and partying, and some songs that are more emotional, have a message. And I think if you think about it, his career started like 10 years ago. That's not that long ago. When you're thinking of like that 2016 trend, that's part of it. You know, he's the one that's like started in 2016 when you see pictures of him. So we've grown up with him a little bit over this past 10 years, and to see what he's been able to accomplish, I forget. I'm like, damn, this guy is like younger than me, you know?
Right. I mean, and like, now, do you think now the NFL, of course, is an international brand, and it's expanding to different cities in Latin America to host games, things of that nature. Do you think that a moment like this with Bad Bunny is going to really impact expanding the game and getting more communities across Latin America and the world to adopt the sport of American football? Again, real football is reserved for Latin America, I think, in Europe, with soccer. But like, do you think that American football is going to catch on more because of a moment like this?
My parents were watching the Super Bowl in Guatemala. They were very excited for it. They don't know about football. They were learning as they go. So I definitely think that it is getting, the word out there about how it's played. My parents, I asked my dad when I was growing up, like, how do you play American football? And he was like, I don't know. But I think he's like just watching it more because of these games, and also, the incursion of the NFL or into other markets, I think is really important to showcase that, to expand the sport. But yeah, my parents were watching it. They actually were very upset because right when the halftime show was about to start, the internet went out in their house, and it went out all over parts of Guatemala, and they were scrambling. They were running around the house just being like, we need to watch it. So it was really, really fun for them to call me and be like, but the internet came back, and they were able to watch I think most of the halftime show, where there was a good 5 minutes where they were like, they didn't have any internet.
Well, that's the worst feeling ever. It's like, where is it?
Mike, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. Great. We're going to check in with Melissa next, but first, remind people where they can go to follow you and learn more Spanish.
Yeah, they can find us on Millennial Loteria on Instagram and on TikTok. Or if you want to teach your kids some Spanish, follow us at Si Sabo Kids on Instagram.
All right, Mike, thank you so much for spending some time and joining us once again here on the Live Zone Primetime. Melissa, do you share Mike's take? Do you agree this is one of the best halftime shows ever?
I'm going to be a hypocrite to say this, but no. I mean, the message, the way it was presented, it was, amazing. It was amazing. Would I say that it was the best? No.
I will say, from a pure, I spent the first 18 years of my TV news career as a producer. From a production standpoint, the choreography, the fact that was all put together in a matter of minutes, from the, dozens of people dressed like sugarcane because they could only use a certain number of carts on the actual turf, to just the camera work, how to a T it was choreographed, so they knew every single move was going to be. It was phenomenal from that standpoint. But
it's 8 minutes to set up, for
That's
them to
crazy.
come out with those 40-pound costumes.
Wild. So what did you like about it, and what didn't you like about it?
Okay, so I lived in Puerto Rico when I was younger, and we did lose a lot of power often. And I was one of those that would cut, sugar canes down and eat them right off the bat.
Wow.
I really enjoyed the fact that he, gave the Grammy to himself as a little kid. The whole ceremony, the marriage ceremony representing love. I do agree with Mike. I was waiting for Belize to be mentioned, and Belize was not mentioned. Another thing that stood out to me was Lady Gaga's Flower. If y'all don't know, that's the flower of Puerto Rico. And the fact that she came out and remade that song into a salsa mix, I'm stealing that for my Zumba class. I'm sorry. I'm doing that all the way. I got so encouraged, Tony P, look, that I made some empanadas.
Nice. I love empanadas.
It's torture, though, because you're there and we're here.
Yes.
Listen, Bethesda's only 20 minutes away.
You can host the next show. I will not do tomorrow if I can get, or at least I can learn how to make them, because those look so good. Let me ask you.
I already put it on my TikTok.
Yes. Let me ask you this. So, what do you think the halftime show, like the greatest lesson that it taught the viewers about the culture of Puerto Rico, the people, and everything that surrounds that beautiful culture?
I think what it taught them is that, we all working, whether you Mexican, whether you Venezuelan, Peruvian, we all do the same kind of work in order to survive, especially in these types of countries. We try our best to live a modest lifestyle, be humble, be cheerful, be thankful, be loving. It sent a great message. However, I'm kind of pulled back because the Bad Bunny that I used to watch was very vulgar. You know, everything that he spoke about was sex in his songs prior to him cleaning up his act. So I appreciated the fact that when he came onto the Super Bowl, it was not sexualized. I don't know if anybody noticed that, but it was not sexualized. Even Ricky Martin, who's a sex symbol, was dressed, like completely dressed. He was not, exposing anything. So was he wearing a bulletproof vest too? I saw that he kind of represented like he was wearing a bulletproof vest underneath all that clothes. And a lot of people didn't notice too that the white represents pure, like peace. You know what I mean? So it sent a really nice message. I really liked it. But overall, I was just more disappointed in the Super Bowl game than anything else.
Got it.
I think a lot of people.
I sure was as a Patriots fan,
including this guy.
The only
over
good
here.
thing was Bad Bunny and the broadcasters last night that actually made the game somewhat interesting.
I literally wanted. I was like, I'm coming on tonight because I'm gonna come on you, Tony P. I told you.
They played horribly. Listen, they played horribly. I mean, the Patriots probably should not have been on that field with Seattle the other night. I mean, that was
not the way they played.
His expression never changed.
No.
I hope he learns. I hope he takes this game as a learning lesson because he let that ego. He let that ego go, and even the coach was representing his facial expressions to a certain extent. But yeah, I hope he takes this as a learning lesson.
Yeah, that was not fun.
We will see if he's back. Melissa, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your thoughts on that halftime show as always. All right, we'll see you next time. Tony P.
Yes.
Before we say good night for the night, we do want to talk about some of the other stories that you're keeping an eye on today.
This is my first time on my written script here.
Let's get to what Tony P. is watching
Yes.
tonight.
All right. So we're going to start in California. A federal judge blocked California from enforcing its new law today that would have barred federal immigration agents from wearing face covering during enforcement operations. The judge ruled that the law unconstitutionally targeted federal officers because it did not apply equally to state law enforcement. However, the court kept in place a transparency requirement in the law that agents clearly display agency identification and badge numbers, with exceptions for undercover work. The ruling will take effect officially on February 19th. In Ohio, authorities investigated a wave of bomb threats today in and around Springfield, Ohio, including threats referencing Haitian immigrants. The threats led to school closures and increased police presence, though officials found no explosives. The FBI assisted local authorities today as investigators traced communications and assessed potential suspects, but none listed at this time. In the world of health, Dr. Mehmet Oz urged Americans to get vaccinated against measles, saying that the vaccine was safe and remained critical as outbreaks have risen in multiple states in the past month. He emphasized that measles spreads easily and that established immunization schedules offered the most effective protection against the disease. In the Epstein investigation, bipartisan momentum today intensified on Capitol Hill as lawmakers reviewed unredacted Justice Department documents. Representatives Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie said their review showed at least 6 additional men who appeared to be likely incriminated in connection with materials previously redacted from public releases. They criticized the scope of redactions under the Epstein Files Transparency Act, arguing some concealed the identities of powerful individuals while exposing others. Lawmakers considered publicly disclosing unredacted contents on the House floor and pressed the Justice Department for additional transparency in the future. Separately, Ghislaine Maxwell again refused to answer questions today in a deposition invoking the Fifth Amendment and signaling she would provide fuller testimony only if granted clemency by the president. In the world of foreign policy, Israel's Security Cabinet approved measures today expanding Israeli authority in parts of the West Bank and easing land purchase rules for Jewish Israelis. Israeli officials framed the move as governance and security, while Palestinian leaders and several international observers condemned it as a step towards de facto annexation. Axios reported today, speaking of the Super Bowl, that a cause called the Super Bowl flu is causing absences across the world of work today and is expected to surge to about 26.2 million workers on this past Monday, with workers expecting to miss this Monday as early data showed that tens of thousands had already scheduled PTO 3 days prior to the game, while others have cited lack of sleep and post-game fatigue in PTO requests this morning. So a lot of false requests maybe for PTO, but hey, you know what, Super Bowl should be a halftime holiday anyway, or sorry, a full-time holiday. In the world of the Super Bowl, again, commercials drew strong reaction. We just talked about this, with nostalgia performing best. A Jurassic Park reunion from Xfinity and a Backstreet Boys spot for T-Mobile ranked high in early viewer polls and drove heavy social media engagement. Several tech-focused ads, though, faced criticism, especially those leaning heavily on generative AI themes. One of the most talked about spots came from Ring, which promoted an AI-powered search party feature that mobilized neighbors' cameras to help search for lost animals. Some viewers called it invasive, while the company defended it as a safety innovation. Analysts have said simple, nostalgic storytelling connected most strongly, while complex AI concepts divided audiences. Again, maybe I'm in par with the advertising community. In the world of celebrity news, speaking of the Super Bowl, that was the hub of celebrity news. Reports are indicating that influencer Alex Earl and former NFL quarterback Tom Brady are quote-unquote hooking up during this and were seen together at the Super Bowl parties this weekend, at a couple parties in particular, with neither publicly addressing the speculation whether they were together or they are in a relationship at the moment. And finally, for our Black History Month, we have two historic facts today. We're going to tie in advertising in the Super Bowl. Our first fact comes from January 31st, 1988, where Doug Williams became the first black quarterback to start in and win a Super Bowl in Super Bowl 22. He led the Washington Redskins, or Commanders, to a 42-10 victory over Denver and threw for 340 yards and 4 touchdowns, setting a Super Bowl record for points in a single quarter, and was named Super Bowl MVP. In the world of advertising, advertising pioneer Vince Colors founded the Vince Colors Advertising Agency in Chicago in 1961, creating the first major black-owned advertising agency in the United States. Colors developed campaigns for brands including McDonald's, Kellogg, Sears, and Johnson Publishing Company, and helped introduce culturally specific marketing that spoke directly to black consumers at a time when mainstream advertising largely ignored them. A really cool thing as an advertising buff myself. I loved seeing that fact today on my LinkedIn page and For You page, because that is really, really cool. And there's actually not a sculpture, a section dedicated to him in the Advertising and Business Hub in the American History Museum on the first floor.
Very cool. Also, just a quick update on the Nancy Guthrie
Yes.
search. We did have that story a little earlier in the show. We had to drop it for time, but Savannah Guthrie did post another message to the reported kidnappers on her Instagram page today, basically saying that time is running out. The family is willing to pay. The search continues. The latest deadline passed earlier tonight. We are still standing by for updates on that. But I do want to end the show on a little bit of a lighter note, because Tony P., I learned something about you today for the first time. Tony P., I learned that you have never seen Star Wars.
No, I saw Spaceballs before I saw Star Wars, and I saw Spaceballs in 2007, which is a spoof on Star Wars.
You have decided to now watch them, and you are watching them in chronological order, as in episode 1, which we're taking a look at right here with Qui-Gon and what's his face?
I think it was
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah,
Darth
Obi-Wan,
Maul.
yeah.
Okay, so you've only seen this one so far.
No, I've seen all three.
All three. Okay,
all
so
three. So I know about Darth. I know about
Anakin
Anakin and
what did you think
Padme.
of the prequels?
I have to say the special effects were very, very weak. I think, again, compared to what we have now.
Okay, wait until you go back to the 70s.
I can imagine, but a lot of the generative AI actually looks like it kind of does in the 2000s. Maybe that's why people hate generative AI right now, because it kind of looks similar to
from a purely story standpoint. Obviously,
the story was good, though. The story was great.
The original trilogy is by far the best. So let me know when you get there if you have any recommendations for Tony P.
The Padme love story, I think, is very, very nice. I know Hayden Christensen got a little bit of flack for the acting as Anakin, as he played Anakin.
Yeah, probably rightfully so.
I mean, I think he got a couple Golden Raspberry Awards. I see that a little bit. He wasn't bad, but I think Mark Hamill is a better lead character.
Fair.
Just by not even knowing, but by knowing him.
We're just going to leave this music playing for Tony P's sake for the final 30 seconds of the show. Thank you to everyone who joined us tonight. here on the Live Zone Prime Time. Thank you to everybody watching on Fox Local and Fox 5 DC's YouTube page. We'll be back tomorrow night with a whole new batch of stuff to talk about. As always, though, you can just scan that QR code, be a part of the conversation. Join us live. Let us know what's going on in your world. Coming up at the top of the hour, I'll fade this music out just a little bit. Of course, we will have the latest on that developing story we've been following, that shooting at Wootton High School.
Yep.
We'll see you tomorrow.